Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a super sloppy sports and entertainment podcast that's hosted by a giant mess. That's me, the real cinch, Neal Lynch. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the New York Metros on the eve of the opening game, the opener, 2026 opener for the New York Mets. We're going to go over everything that went down over the offseason. We're going to do a little State of the Empire, State of the Union for the Metros. What a before and after for this offseason. There's an infield shakeup. There's the outfield that everyone was so worried about. We got some upgrades on the pitching staff. Got some kooky spring training stories. We got predictions for the 2026 season. So without further ado, let's get it started up in here. All right, let's lead off with the State of the Empire, State of the Union. My God, have we ever experienced a more up and down offseason in Mets franchise history? Feels like with Steve Cohen as owner and now David Stearns pretty much running the show, making moves. Feels like every offseason comes with a ton of fireworks, right? But this one got off to one of the most abysmal starts that I could ever imagine. When I last recorded about the Mets, it was mid-December. We're getting ready for the holidays, and we didn't get gifts. We got grinched. Alonso signs with the Orioles. Diaz signs with the Dodgers. Nimmo traded to the Rangers. It sucked. You know, it's like that meme with Will Smith at the end of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the series finale where he's just standing in the middle of the living room, just a rug laying on the hardwood floor, and he's just looking around like, damn, it's over. That's how it felt. I was just standing there in the middle of my apartment. Everything's gone. And it's like everything that I've been rooting for and pulling for and hoping for, that I was optimistic about, no matter how much bullshit we went through with that core, I still thought that they should be kept together. We should not blow it up. And it's just a piece here and a piece there. If our pitching rotation, our starting rotation didn't stink, if we had a clutch hit here or there, if we didn't have the injuries, if we made some more moves at the deadline, we wouldn't have barely missed the playoffs on the last day of the season in 2025. And then for Stearns to go out there and say defense wasn't good enough. Yeah, it cost us some games. But to blow up your team, essentially blow up your team and get rid of some stalwarts on offense because their defense, they had a down season defensively. Didn't feel right. Didn't sit right with a lot of the fan base. I'm sure there were plenty of people that were screaming and hollering and cheering the departure of Polar Bear and the original Mr. Smile, Brandon Nimmo. And I thought to myself, wow. So is this going to be like a rebuilding year? Are we just kind of tossing our hat in, saying, hey, get him in 2027? And then it was like not even a month later, just a deluge, a tsunami of moves that kind of stoked the fires a little bit, kicked the tires a little bit. Jeff McNeil dealt. That was kind of, I mean, if you were to survey, do an anonymous poll of all Mets fans, they would have thought that McNeil would be the first to go. How many years in a row at the trade deadline did Jeff McNeil's name come up in discussions, rumors, speculation? He's on the table. And then how many years in a row did we have a bunch of fans come out and say, nay, no, thank you. He's a keeper. Wouldn't trade him for the world. And then with each year that went by, it was like it started to chip away and melt away the support for keeping Jeff McNeil, to the point where we dealt him this offseason was like, yep, okay. There was like zero, we were really butthurt about Alonso leaving and Nimmo getting traded. Maybe not so much butthurt about Edwin Diaz going, to the Dodgers. The fact that it's the Dodgers, that it's like, he was already a very polarizing figure. I think he redeemed himself in 2022, and then he immediately ruined all the good energy surrounding him by missing all of 2023 because of the celebrating in the World Baseball Classic. So he's been vilified, and he's definitely a villain in Mets fans' eyes, I think. It was like just when you were just starting to get on his side and think that he's the best reliever in baseball, And you could probably still say that about him, at least last season. But man, even in the WBC in the 2026 WBC, it was just like he comes in and he hits a guy and he's all over the place. And you're like, this is classic signature Edwin Diaz. This is straight up raw sugar right in your grill, giving you all the cavities. So we deal McNeil, and we got a young righty, right-hander back. So it was like, it wasn't, it's amazing. It was like, we wouldn't trade him for the world to, we got a right-handed pitcher who's probably not going to make an impact in the 2026 season. It's like, So, I mean, the offseason grade that I was going to give the Metros back in December before all these moves were made, where we deal McNeil, we deal for Louis Roberts Jr., we sign Bo Bichette, we trade for Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers. It's like, hot damn, man. We went from legitimately C minus D plus. I'm sure there's plenty of Fs strewn about the Northeast and all over the world from Mets fans before these moves were made. But then Stearns just pulled a rabbit out of the hat, just surprising a lot of people with some of the moves. We made an offer to Kyle Tucker. We thought we were going to make an offer to Cody Bellinger. It was everything we thought going into the offseason. It was just, nope, we're going to go you zig, we zag. So we went from a C plus, D minus, C minus, D plus to an A minus in terms of where we were mid-December to where we ended up in mid-January and then eventually in February, March. The predictions are scary. I'll just say that. They're scary, man. Because we've been down this road before where it's like, oh, we're predicted to finish in first. We're predicted to make a deep playoff run. Predictions like that almost never come to fruition for the Mets. So as a lifelong Mets fan, it's like, ugh, I kind of wish y'all didn't make those kind of predictions, because we had those predictions last season and missed the playoffs. We had those predictions in 2023, missed the playoffs. Hell, even when we got Francisco Lindor, it was like, we're going to the playoffs, making a deep run. Didn't make the playoffs in 2021. So the hope is that we're not making desperation moves at the trade deadline. Not that we made desperation moves last season, but almost all of those backfired. And the idea is that we don't have to make a bunch of trades at the trade deadline. You're in a good spot. Maybe make one or two, and it's just to shore up your depth. It's not like a major critical move that you have to make because all of your starting pitchers are injured. So A minus for sure. The Great Purge is what they're calling it. Alonso, Diaz, Nimmo, McNeil gone. But Stearns, to his credit, rebuilt a pennant contender in 90 days, which is a testament to his baseball acumen and his intelligence. I still don't know if I trust him. I still don't know if I can believe a lot of what he says. You would think I would have learned my lesson by now. Hearing all this coach speak and GM speak and press conference after press conference, they're not going to reveal their hand. They're not going to expose themselves and make them vulnerable. So for him to say, well, defense has got to get better, and then to bring in Jorge Polanco and stick him at first when he's never played first base, to sign Bo Bichette and be like, hey, you've never played third base? Get your ass over on the hot corner. What are we doing? It's a little weird. It's a little weird to be like, well, defensively, we got to get better. And then to have, this is, to me, if I'm Pete Alonso and I'm a baby back bitch, right? I got thin skin. So this reaction will make sense to a lot of you that know me. If I'm Pete Alonso and I see that the team was like, nay, no thanks on 5 years, 155 mil, go to Baltimore, have fun. We're gonna get Jorge Polanco and stick him at first, even though he's never played a single inning at first base. And we consider that, if you're to believe David Stearns and what he said in a lot of his press conferences, we believe that he will be better than you defensively. Offensively, that's a tall order. I don't know how you're going to replace the power output, the slugging. We'll see. People were saying, oh, we got to get younger. We got to bring in young blood and da-da-da. And then we go out and get Marcus Semien in the trade. It's like he's 30 some odd years old. He's older than Nimmo. It's like, oh, okay. And then we thought our infield was pretty much set. And then we go out and stun everybody, media, insiders, experts included, and sign Bo Bichette, who turned down more money with Philly, I think the story was. So Steve Cohen made $3.4 billion last year. That's 4 Juan Sotos. Money ain't a thing. What was it? It wasn't Ja Rule. It said money ain't a thing. Jermaine Dupri, I believe, said that. Money ain't a thing. Swerving 4 lanes on the highway. Money ain't a thing. Every time I come around, bling bling. So we know money's not an issue. I think it's just funny that they keep saying, we're not going to spend like drunken sailors. We're not going to spend like drunken sailors. And then they go out and they spend like drunken sailors. I mean, it's not like we got cheap. I don't think we got cheap on Pete Alonso. I don't think we got cheap on Edwin Diaz. We actually, in the net of it all, taxes included, we offered what would have been net more than the Dodgers for Edwin Diaz. And the Brandon Nimmo thing is still, I'm a little bitter about that still. But the infield, could this be the best infield since Olerud, Ventura, Ordonez, and who was our guy at second? Valentine? Maybe. Talking like late 90s. That was a hell of an infield. Of course, you had Wright and Reyes, but you didn't really have the other side of the infield to complement it. But I feel like that 1997 infield was pretty damn good. And it was still good in 98 and 99 and 2000. So, and then it went to shit. But this is the most stacked infield that I think we've had in a very long time. It's unfortunate for Brett Beatty. They have him getting in some work at first base. He's now going to be in the rotation in the outfield. But Bo Bichette, $126 million. Never played third base. So funny. Just like if on the championship DVD, not to jinx the shit, whatever, knock on wood. But I can just see Stearns making these comments in the winter meetings, at the GM meetings in the winter and whatnot, saying the defense has got to be better. Defense wasn't good enough. And then throw up a picture, highlights of Jorge Polanco and put him at first, 0 games played there. And then throw up a highlight reel, Bo Bichette, text on screen graphic, 0 starts at third base. Just like, okay. I think Beatty played a few innings in left field last season, and I can't remember how he did. I don't think it was like, hey, this is your future kid. It was just like, all right. He's been learning first in right field, and that's a great segue to what comes next, man. Juan Soto, no longer in right field. In a way, I think, I wasn't too terribly high on either Cody Bellinger or Kyle Tucker. It's understandably the outfield. It's like we had two large, very large gaping holes. They belong on Pornhub. How gaping they are in the outfield. We're like, well, right field's fine. We got Soto, and then we just need a center fielder and a left fielder after trading Nimmo. And now it looks like, well, you got Beatty out there. Carson Benji. I apologize for not pronouncing that right. I've only seen it written in text. I've not watched a single frickin' second of spring training. But Carson Benji made the team. I know they had brought in Mike Tauchman, mispronouncing that. And of course, he hurt himself. There was that competition, and then Bengi wins by default after the injury. So now you got, Beatty, Soto, and Bengi, Tyrone Taylor. Whew. But Soto was in right field. You figured he's going to man the right field for the rest of his days with the Mets, until he can't run no more and throw no more, but he can still hit, and we'll move him to DH. But nope, it's one and done. He's now in left field. He was a -12 OAA defender, tied for the worst in Major League Baseball. Yet he stays, and it's like, well, it's because he's, we just signed him to a monster deal, and ownership, front office thought that he had given enough chances to a guy like Brandon Nimmo and to Pete Alonso and to Jeff McNeil. It was like, we've given them enough chances over the years. They've had how many years? 6, 7 years, 8 years to kind of get their act right and be the consistent guys, the cornerstones, the foundation, the dependables that we need. Like, we should never be saying after a game or after a season, well, if only Alonso did this, if only McNeil did that, if only Nimmo stepped up here and did this and did that. It's like, I'm of the mindset that it's like you're allowed to have a down season over a lengthy career, but that's not the mindset. The mindset was, we can't run this back. Definition of insanity, banging our heads against the wall. So we trade for Luis Robert Jr., high risk, high reward move. Go potential in center, but has not played well the past 2 seasons. He had an unreal 2023, hit like 38 home runs, and just hasn't done much of anything in the past 2 seasons. So he's with the White Sox. The White Sox were a dumpster fire. So it's kind of like you're in that setting where it's like you're losing 100 plus games a season after what looked like a resurgence for the White Sox where they were in playoff mode. They just took a steep dive off a steep cliff. And so I can imagine that must take its toll even on your star players, that you're doing everything in your power and you're just losing so many games in a row. I mean, there was like a ridiculous slump that they went through. I can't even remember what the number was. It was like 20 or 30 losses in a row or something like that. It's just absurd. So, I'd still take Luis Robert Jr. over Tyrone Taylor. And I like Tyrone Taylor a lot, And when Tyrone Taylor came back last year after the injury, he was the spark plug. But like I said back in December, really would prefer not to have him starting 162. Would prefer to either, worst case scenario, platoon him, best case scenario, he's a late inning defensive replacement, bat off the bench, pinch runner who will get you that run or save you that run, that critical run. And as we all know, the 1-run games last season, no bueno. Freddy Peralta, that trade for Freddy Peralta, ha-cha-cha. He's the new ace. He's the number 1. 38.3% K rate in September. He's got a shifting arm angle that goes from 34 to 38 degrees over the years. I think he's gone from 34 to 38. And there are a lot of great statistics about him that I hope to get to. Luke Weaver, $22 million. Is he worth it? Let me work it. He struggled late with a 5.31 ERA after the hamstring strain. Is he a pitch tipper or is he a closer? We now have 2 former Yankee relievers in Devin Williams and Luke Weaver. I think the bullpen were they solid in the playoffs or were they not? Did they struggle in the regular season and were they straight up putrid in the postseason, or was it the reverse? I don't know. I don't closely follow the Yankees fans like Yankees games like some Mets fans do. So there's a 6-man rotation. You got Peralta 1, David Peterson 2. David Peterson, the longest tenured Met. Can you believe that? We'll get into that. Nolan McLean, some are saying that he'll be the Cy Young of this season. He struggled a little bit in the World Baseball Classic. He had the case of vertigo, QU2. I don't have the rights to U2's vertigo, but insert it here. Hello. Hola. Vertigo, and then, they're only allowed to pitch so many innings in the World Baseball Classic. I don't think they can go 5 innings or something like that. There's some kind of limit that they put on the pitchers, starting pitchers in the WBC. But Nolan McLean, people make it sound like he got rocked and like he had, bad inning here, bad pitch there, but it's not like he was giving up a ton of runs or putting a ton of guys on base. So he's still so much fun to watch, even when he's in a losing effort. The amount of movement he gets on his off-speed pitches is, majestic. Clay Holmes, another WBC participant who fared well, who is looking to keep the momentum going from last year, where it's hit a bit of a wall towards the home stretch, just as David Peterson did. But you would hope that they've learned their lesson and will lean on the new pitching coaches, the new coaches that have been brought in. I mean, it was pretty much, as we mentioned in the last episode in December, wiped the slate clean for pretty much everyone except the head honcho, Carlos Mendoza. So can they figure out a way to get Peterson and Holmes over the hump and get them a full season of consistent pitching? If we can do that, I mean, you got to think if this rotation can stay healthy, if we can get Just 3 of the 5 to stay healthy the whole season. And it doesn't have to be the same 3 the whole season. It's just like get 3 guys to stay healthy. The playoffs should be a lock, considering, even though I don't know that I still have my concerns about the offense. I think the offense won't be as inconsistent as it was last season. I think you'll see more consistency. Will you see explosions like we did last season, where it looks like we're going to beat everyone? Doesn't matter about our goddamn pitching. I don't think so, but I'm willing to be proven wrong. So Clay Holmes is your 4, and he was just about our number 1 at the end of the season last season. Kodai Senga, who, from what I've been reading and seeing, appears to be back in tip-top shape and put up some decent numbers over spring training. And then Sean Manaea is the one who's on the outskirts looking in. So that deal that we made, was it last offseason, where we signed him right before Christmas 2024? Everyone was so happy. It's like, that might turn out to be a turd. It's like his velocity is still in the high 80s, which is what they call languishing. Big old SAT word for him. So there's a piggyback plan for Sean Manaea, which I don't hate. They had some degree of success with the piggyback last season. I forget what order it was in. Like the one piggyback where I think it was Holmes first, Manaea second worked. When it was Manaea first, Holmes second, it did not work. So I'm not opposed to it. It's just like, let's just not make that a regular occurrence. He's kind of like, I'm viewing Manaea as like, he's the bridge to the bullpen when you need it. And hopefully you don't need it every single goddamn week. There are some great stories from spring training that we'll get into and some season predictions, but I want to rattle off some freaking stats, dude. So right after I recorded, the Metros went out and signed Luke Weaver, reliever closer with the Yankees. He ranked number 40 on the Athletics free agent big board, was projected to receive a deal worth $19 million over 2 years. And instead, the Mets hand him a contract worth $22 million. That's pretty much how free agency works across every single goddamn sport. No matter what you think the price tag is or will be, tack on another 10 to 20% or more. It's very rare, and not to get into football, but the Giants kind of did this in free agency, which we'll get to next episode. It's very rare that you come in under what the expectation is. For the New York Giants, football Giants, well, I don't want to get into it. Come on, Neal. Stay on track. 2 years ago, Weaver's move to the bullpen sparked a breakout season for the right-hander. He made 62 relief appearances with a 2.89 ERA and 103 strikeouts in 84 innings as he took over the closer role for the Yankees down the stretch during their postseason run to the American League pennant. He was striking out 11 batters per 9 innings. Holla at your boy. This season, 2025, was different for Weaver. His ERA was nearly a full run higher at 3.62. He appeared in 64 games, but struggled midway through and late in the season. Started the year with 13 straight scoreless appearances and then missed nearly a month in the summer with a left hamstring strain. Wasn't the same when he returned, posting a 5.31 ERA over his final 40 games. He has some pitch tipping problems, which, Luis Severino had the same thing when he came over from the Yankees. And he was still experiencing the pitch tipping issue with the Mets. And then I believe Hefner or someone, one of the pitching coaches, came and said, hey, in poker, we call that a tell. You need to be better at bluffing, my guy. You need a better poker face. Poker face. The 32-year-old Weaver has now pitched 10 seasons in the big leagues. 7 of those 10 have been primarily as a starter, which is the role Weaver held at the start of his career with the Cardinals and D-backs from 2016 to 2021. For most of 2023 with the Reds and Yankees with a brief stint as a reliever for the Mariners in between. In 106 career starts, Weaver is 25-42 with a 5.05 ERA, despite a high strikeout rate. Since joining the bullpen, Weaver has spiked that strikeout rate while simplifying his pitch mix. He's now largely a fastball changeup artist, throwing those 2 pitches around 90% of the time. His 3.21 ERA the last 2 seasons is also much lower. Interesting that you simplify your pitch mix and you get better. Like for me, I had, if you want to get super Tammy technical on people, I had like 6 pitches, possibly 7. 2-seam fastball, over the top, 2-seam fastball sidearm, 4-seam fastball over the top, circle change, 12-6 curve, slurve slider. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I lost count. I lost count. And I knew that I didn't have overpowering stuff. I think I barely touched 87 on a very hot day in Florida with the wind by my back. So I knew I couldn't overpower, and I was all about deception. Changing my arm slot, just changing it up so they could not get a beat or a read on where my arm was going to be and what was coming out of my arm when I did release. And you hear about I don't think it was, I keep thinking it's Pelfrey. It's not Mike Pelfrey. Tyler McGill. He has a kind of a Mike Pelfrey-esque vibe to him. But, I think Tyler McGill picked up a pitch. There are 2 or 3 other Mets where Hefner and his team were able to get them to pick up a pitch, and it benefited them. So they added a pitch to the mix. So to hear that a pitcher only has 2 freaking pitches in the repertoire, in the arsenal, and is able to succeed is incredible. I can't wrap my head around that. The Jeff McNeil trade. McNeil will spend 8 seasons with the Mets, has been traded to the Oakland? Not quite, my friend. Not so fast, my friend. The Sacramento Athletics for pitching prospect Yordan Rodriguez. Is that Hispanic enough for you? Mets were also sending $5.75 million to bring McNeil's 26 salary down to $10 million. McNeil's 33, set to make $15.75 million in 2026. Also, there's a club option on him for the following season at the same figure. Since he was traded, McNeil is set to receive a one-time $500,000 assignment bonus, a league source said. Baseball is so fucking weird. Pro sports in general is weird. Baseball is weird, too, with the amount of fucking rules that we got going on. But dear God, $500,000 because you were assigned. How can you ever bitch or complain if you're a pro athlete? How? I will never see that in a lifetime. That guy got it just to leave. Whew. You've made it when that's what you get to leave. These college football coaches, they just they get buku cash, dollars cream, homie, for getting fired. They get a contract buyout. Oh, man, that's the life, dude. You can't be upset when you get a contract buyout. I think most college football coaches probably prefer to get the buyout. Fuck it. Yeah, I'll come and turn around your program, and then I'll run it into the dirt, and then I get 7 figs to take a hike and go on a vacay. McNeil underwent a minor procedure for thoracic outlet syndrome. Oh, flashbacks to the Dark Knight. He had the same goddamn thing. So have fun with that, athletics. The issue popped up in the second half and may have contributed to his struggles in September. No shit. Feels like just about everyone was dealing with some bumps and bruises last season, and it really affected their play. So maybe that had something to do with it. We're gonna pin it on defense and say it's defense when reality it's maybe the guys that we had, even though Alonso he started every single freaking game. And you could look at him and he's a workhorse. Didn't want to come out of the game, didn't want to take a day off. Maybe it was to the team's detriment. Same with Lindor. Among the, sorry. McNeil's OPS stood at 799 at the end of August before he slumped through most of September and finished with a 746 mark. His value is his versatility in offense, obviously, the flying squirrel. Played second base, he might have even played first base. You could stick him pretty much anywhere and he wouldn't hurt you. Although I'm sure there are plenty of fans that would point to, that game against the Braves in August where he's in center. It's Tyrone Taylor would have got that ball. Maybe even Brandon Nimmo would have got that ball. So 2-time All-Star, batting champion 2022. McNeil hit 12 home runs with a 243, 335, 411 slash in 2025. Again, it's what a volatile, tumultuous tenure that Jeff McNeil had with this friggin' squad, man. It was always something. From there's a rat in the clubhouse, Lindor fiasco, to him just being so fucking angry and pissed off every single time he gets out, to how does a batting champion who has hit 300 plus in a separate season bat below 250 in almost every other season? It's just wild. Among the 27 players with at least 500 innings at second base, McNeil's fielding run value ranked number 10. Okay. Rodriguez is 17. I didn't realize he was that young. Holy macaroni. Yordany Rodriguez is 17, signed with the Athletics out of Cuba on January 15th and spent his pro debut season in the Dominican Summer League, allowed 5 runs in 15 and a third, striking out 20, walking 8. Rodriguez received a $400,000 bonus when he signed with the A's. So for everyone keeping records at home, all you bean counters or your accountants, Yordany Rodriguez got $400,000 bonus to sign a piece of paper. Jeff McNeil got $500,000 to take a hike. What is money anyway? What is money? I'm all about crypto. Donald Trump apparently broke up the Mets. Yeah, I buried the lead on this one. Not that the baseball team wasn't already cursed, but a political divide in the clubhouse over the president was reportedly a big part of their issues in 2025. The main rift was between the Mets star shortstop Francisco Lindor and outfielder Brandon Nimmo, who the Mets, funny enough, just traded a couple weeks ago. This was back. And reading that, I was like, hey, I'm not surprised about this at all. As much as we watch games and we see guys, celebrate together and whatever, it's like, you could just tell. I know the word vibe is thrown around a lot. Possibly too much, probably too much. It's overkill. But you look at the 2024 vibe or the energy, or the dynamic, and then you compare it to we talked about it after the end of the season. We talked about it in December. It's just the juju and the mojo and all those words that you want to describe the chemistry, the makeup of the team was off. And a lot of people assign that to the fact that Candelita was gone and left, and that he was the guy uniting the clubhouse. He leaves. He was the glue guy, and then the glue's gone and everyone falls apart. But the author who pointed this out said, I guess it's easier to blame politics for one of the biggest collapses in Major League Baseball history than admit the team just played god-awful baseball for 3 months. Hey, listen, when you lose, that shit does not help to have fucking political debates in the locker room after a loss. Fucking tariffs. Yeah, but in terms of the game, though, like, how do we get better on the field? Well, I would love to get better if Trump didn't enforce these stupid tariffs. In his first season in Queens, Juan Soto was tied for the worst defensive outfielder in the majors by StatCast's outs above average metric, which we talked about. Here is a list of the worst outfielders by outs above average in 2025. You got Juan Soto tied for first with -12 with Nick Castellanos, who was dumped by the Phillies for getting drunk in the clubhouse. Yo, what up? That story is pretty funny. I mean, it's to a fan. I'm sure it's not funny to Castellanos and his family and whoever for getting outed like that. But like, dude, if this were the 86 Mets and Castellanos is cracking a beer in the clubhouse, no one's thinking twice about that shit. Keith Hernandez was smoking cancer sticks, ripping butts in the friggin' dugout. So Castellanos drinking a beer in the dugout, I don't know. I guess, when you lose, like they did, even though Castellanos has a sick walk-up song, considered one of the best walk-up songs, which we went over, if you remember, over the summer. Yeah, I was never like, I don't know what it is about me and Philly sports. There are certain players on Philadelphia sports teams where I'm like, that guy's going to murder us. That guy's going to kill us. That guy. Where they come up in the batter's box and you're like, this is not going to end well. Castellanos was never one of those guys, but yet he should be for me, because it feels like he would come up with big hit after big hit, but he would also come up in big situations and not come through in the clutch. I think you could say the same about Bryce Harper. Schwarber, I might put in a different category. Joe Adele was also tied for first with a -12 OAA. Ronald Acuna Jr. comes in at number 4 at -11, and Jason Dominguez, number 5 at -10. So, the pursuit of Kyle Tucker raised some questions from Ken Rosenthal's latest notes column. Mets president of baseball operations, David Stearns, told the team's beat reporters that after the season, opposing coaches and executives shared with him a common sentiment: your defense wasn't close to good enough. So how is it that the Mets are offering star free agent Kyle Tucker a 3-year deal that is at least in the range of $40 to $47 million per season, per the Athletics' Will Salmon, and as high as $50 million, per FanSided's Robert Murray? Tucker turned 29 Shirley would deepen the Mets lineup, Gold Glove finalist in 20 and 2021, and a winner in 2022. I can't wait till we get out of this friggin' decade. I can't handle saying 2020 something anymore. Get me to 2030. It comes off the tongue so nice. But he has since, Tucker has since declined in right field according to outs above average. Worst defensive outfielder last season than Brandon Nimmo. Again, that's why I can only take what a lot of these executives are saying to the media with a grain of salt, because it's like, they're being coached up by public relations or someone, the owner is saying, hey, don't say this, this, and this. The fan base will probably turn on us, or the fan base were sour. But yet you're going to ditch Alonso for a guy who's never played first before. You're going to ditch Nimmo for a guy that's worse than him in the outfield. It's just like, there's another stat that I'm going to rattle off in a sec where it's like, I'm supposed to be impressed by that. Like, we had that. So it's like a 1-to-1 swap. There's no improvement there. By the same metric, the Mets' current $51 million per year man, Juan Soto, was the worst defensive right fielder in the game. So if the Mets signed Tucker, someone would have to move to left. Tucker would be a curious choice for a team supposedly hell-bent on improving its defense. His low-key personality might not be an ideal for the New York market either. So, I could be eating shit after what Tucker does this season, but I was not all in on Kyle Tucker. And, I'm not like bummed we didn't get him. And I think it will be the right move. We had some arbitration deals go down right around this time. David Peterson, we got for the low price of $8.1 million. That is, to me, that is a fucking steal considering what we paid for the likes of, Frankie Montas. Yay. $2.5 million for Tyler McGill, which, despite what everyone thinks about McGill and everything he's been through, it's a fucking bargain, even though he's not going to play this year. Francisco Alvarez, $2.4 million. Again, that feels like a steal. Luis Torrens, $2.275 million. Again, you have a 1-2 combo behind the plate that I like a lot. Alvarez should be the better of the two offensively. Torrens is the better of the two as a backstop. And I guess Torrens is better throwing dudes out too. So I think you give the edge defensively to Torrens. Hot take. And you got both of those motherfuckers for less than $5 million. What? Reed Garrett, $1.3 million. I don't think he's going to play this year either, but still nice to have that in the back pocket. Huascar Brozaban, $1.05 million. Let's hope that not a lot of critical junctures involve Huascar Brozaban this season. That's for damn sure. And then mid-January. So I meant to put out an episode about this, and then shit got cray at work, preventing me from. I'm burnt out now, but I was a husk in January. That's for sure. Less than 15 hours after Tucker signed a 4-year, $250 million contract with the Dodgers, the Metros agreed to a 3-year, $126 million contract with Bo Bichette. And the deal reportedly includes 2 opt-outs. What is the amount of money that Bo Bichette gave up in a long-term contract to sign a short-term deal with the Metros? Great question. The answer? $75 million. There were goose egg reports publicly linking the Amazons to Bo. As MLB Network insider John Heyman reported, the 27-year-old Bichette is expected to play third base in New York. It's first worth noting that Bichette does not grade as a strong defensive shortstop. Last season, he was worth a negative 13 outs above average. There's a theme to this episode. As happy as I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm not crazy hype about this season because it's like we're rolling the dice on a lot of shit. And we're kind of going against what our philosophy was entering the offseason, which was defense has to improve. Defense isn't good enough. You're going after Tucker, who defensively is worse than Nimmo. You're going after, Bo Bichette, who is not good at shortstop anymore. It's just, I'm a little weary. That was his negative 13 outs above average was tied for the second worst total in the majors at the position. StatCast fielding run value metric. He has recorded just one season with a positive FRV, and that came during the pandemic-shortened season 2020, which you can basically toss out the frickin' moving car window. I don't know what a FRV is. Oh, fielding run value metric. Got it. Bichette hasn't played much second base either. In fact, he had not played a single inning at second base in the majors before a knee injury forced him to switch positions in the World Series. So how might he fit in at third base? He's never played a professional inning at third base. Also worth noting, here the Mets signed Jorge Polanco to play a whole lot of first, even though Polanco has just one pitch of professional experience at the position. His arm strength, Bichette's arm strength graded out in the 36th percentile of Major League Baseball last season. As Eno Sadis of The Athletic first pointed out, that's the same arm strength of Alex Bregman, one of the premier defensive third basemen. So he's got the arm strength to play third, and he doesn't have to cover as much ground at third because he's got a freaking Hall of Famer who should be a captain, but apparently will never be captain for the Mets, Francisco Lindor. So what happens with Brett Beatty? He seized the everyday third base job and set career highs across the board, including 18 ding-dongs, 3.1 BWAR. That's batting wins against replacement. He became an above-average defender, accumulating a +4 OAA at third base across the last 2 seasons. In the last 2 months, though, Mets have added 3 veteran infielders to a unit that was already felt stacked with infielders, with Acuna, Mauricio, Vientos. According to Heyman, the Mets envision Beatty playing all over the diamond, perhaps at first base, sometime in left field. Beatty has played a total of 30 games in the outfield across his minor league career. So he's no stranger to it, but I vividly, and maybe this is a Mandela effect, or maybe I'm just hallucinating like AI up in his bitch, but I'm pretty sure he misplayed a couple balls in left field last season. I believe he did. He's only entering his age 26 season. He's got 4 more years of club control. So, any speculation that he was going to be dealt, I don't think they would deal him now. I don't think they should deal him now. Mets also have Mark Vientos and Mauricio on the 40-man roster. And at the time of this signing with Bo Bichette, Luis Angel Jojona was still part of the squad. He ain't no mo. So what do we do about the outfield? We kind of covered all this. I mean, there was, some grumblings and rumblings that the Mets were possibly in on signing Cody Bellinger, who's the best remaining free agent outfielder at the time. But Cody was seeking a 7-year deal, and Stearns is all about them short-term contracts. So Carson Bengi, a first-round pick of the 2024 draft, traversed 3 levels of the minors last season, finished the year at AAA. He'll make his MLB debut at some point in 2026, age 23 season. He could just right out the gate be a starter. I mean, why the fuck not? I don't know who else. I mean, I guess Beatty would be your guy in right if Soto's in left and Roberts in center. Beyond Bengi, that could also include Jet Williams, who I believe was also traded. So, sorry, Nara. And then AJ Ewing, who is the organization's number 7 prospect. Starting pitching. Mets' biggest weakness last summer. This had said that, Brandon Sproat could be in the mix. He gone. Christian Scott, who's coming back from the surgery, who looked good before the surgery. Jonah Tong, who had a rough go of it after a pretty solid first outing, second outing, not so much. And then it looks like from everything that's gone down since the Bo Bichette signing, it looks like Jonah Tong is even going to be on the freaking opening day roster. I don't think so. Mets are one of 3 teams reported to have met with left-hander Framber Valdez, who is a legitimate frontline starter with a career 3.36 ERA. That didn't come to fruition. And instead, we got ourselves Brewers ace Freddy Peralta. He's going to be a free agent after this season, or was going to be a free agent after the season, but all signs are pointing to him trying to sign a long-term contract with the Metros. Peralta's 2.7 ERA was the 7th best amongst qualified starting pitchers in 2025. So, interesting that they would have Peterson as the 2, McLean as the 3, Holmes as the 4, Senga as the 5. What a difference 2 to 3 years makes. Senga went from being our ace to there was some talk about him being traded or him not even making the team. Peterson, an all-star last year, first half, second half fell apart. I would have thought McLean would be ahead of Peterson, but I guess when you're the longest tenured Met, and you did make an all-star appearance, but they have McLean above Holmes, which I believe makes sense. So that's I don't hate it. I don't hate that rotation. Steve Cohen, was the highest earning hedge fund manager in 2025, making $3.4 billion, as I mentioned in the opener, the intro. His 2025 earnings are greater than the $2.4 billion Cohen paid to buy the team in 2021, and equal to roughly 4.4 times the value of Juan Soto's record $765 million contract. But for him to come out and say, as long as he's owner, he will never name a team captain is something. That is something, especially since he's shown and proven that he's so in touch with, and he's active on Twitter. He's in touch with the fans. He hears them. He responds. He provides feedback. He's sympathetic. He's empathetic to the fan base. He is a fan. So for him to just completely ignore the chatter around Francisco Lindor being named team captain is something, especially considering his relationship with Lindor. It almost makes you think, like, have things soured? It's like it started off red hot. He's, Cohen's the main reason why we got Lindor, whining and dining and 69 in that Puerto Rican ass, Dominican ass. I forget. So, Cohen was a big factor. And maybe he, after seeing, after everything that Lindor went through and did, his heroics towards the end of 2024, end of the regular season, into the postseason, everything that he did for the team, to know that, he's not as consistent as we would have liked. In terms of being available and healthy and being on the field, yeah. Playing through injury, yeah. But in terms of the production and being clutch throughout the season, like, is that starting to wear on Steve Cohen? I don't know. It's a weird move by Cohen to completely rule that out, especially since he's such a player-friendly owner, or at least that's what he's presenting as, in that he's righting the wrongs from the Wilpon era and retiring numbers left and right. We're not going to have any freaking numbers left by the time 2030 rolls around. But he's shown a lot of love to former players and to the current players, so interesting that he would just completely rule that out. I wonder if the thinking is like, we're a team, we don't want one player to, I don't know if he just wants to really instill and hammer in that mentality of the word team, we're a team. And maybe he looks at the unraveling that happened in 2025 and looking at Francisco Lindor's tenure and how everyone has pointed at him before Soto arrived and was like, you're the highest paid player. You need to be the leader. And was he comfortable with that? And, there was all these questions, even in that 2024 season before the Mets righted the ship, in May and June and took off. People were looking and pointing at Lindor and being like, is he a leader? Does this team have a leader? The assumption was that Lindor is the leader and Alonso's a leader. But did either of them really take up the mantle and prove it in the clubhouse? It's like, maybe you're doing it to the media and to the press, and the press and the media are kind of, you're the de facto leader because you're the guys that are showing up for the interviews and you're saying the right things in the interviews. But like, are you saying the right things? Are you getting the club where they need to be in the clubhouse? This is all just my mind working overtime, trying to figure out why you wouldn't make Lindor captain. And it's like, instead of coming out and saying Lindor will not be captain, he just says, I'll never name a captain. It's like, well, that's an easy, that's how you do it when you earn $3.4 billion in a year. You're just like, no, we're just not going to name a captain, deal with it. In January, the hits keep on coming for the Metros. We added 3 players worth of combined 10.4 WAR in 2025, which to that I say, well, we had 3 players with a 10.4 WAR in 2025. Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso. I want to say Jeff McNeil. That's probably not right, but there's one more. I think it's Edwin Diaz. So it's like we lost 3 players worth of combined 10.4 WAR in 2025. They might have had higher WAR. I don't know. I'd have to look back, but we ended up trading for White Sox center fielder Luis Robert Jr. Robert Jr. He had a disappointing 2025. But was an all-star and hit 38 home runs in 2023. As I mentioned, he's set to make $20 million this season and has a 2027 club option for the same price with a $2 million buyout. 223 is also Robert's combined batting average of the last 2 years. He's a 660 OPS. Ooh. Again, you just hope it's just the south side of Chicago was poisoning him, and that the blooming, blossoming environment that is flushing Queens as LaGuardia jets spray fuel all over your face is a healthier environment. And then the Peralta trade, we acquired Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers from the Brewers for Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat. The Sproat GOAT. We hardly knew ye. I was actually looking forward to having Sproat on the squad and getting some innings in. I think he earned that right last season, but I guess not. They must have more faith in Jonah Tong, or they could not move Jonah Tong. Tong is younger, I believe, than Sproat. Among qualified National League pitchers last season, Freddy Peralta's 2.7 ERA was the fourth lowest, behind only Paul Skenes at 1.97, Yoshinobu Yamamoto 2.49, and Christopher Sanchez 2.5. Freddy Peralta's strikeout rate by month last season in March or April was 25.6, in May it was 22.3, and then it was 28.3 in June, and then it was 28.3 in June. And then it was 26.3 in July. And then he finished the season super duper strong. Almost 32% in August, and then above 38% in September, which is that's how it should work. It's okay to get off to a slow start. I'm okay with a slow start. We all know what happens to hot starts. Not great. I'm okay with a slow start. If we're 500 after April, that's cool with me. If we're hovering around 500 in May, all right, June, June is where you need to not have gloom. You can't have June doom and gloom. You need June bloom. That's when things need to take off. Peralta's 29.6% strikeout rate is the fourth highest out of the 85 Major League Baseball pitchers with at least 500 innings pitched since 2021, behind only Blake Snell, Garrett Cole, and Dylan Cease. Snell and Cease, it feels like we've been sniffing around those dudes for ages, and they'll never be in a Mets uniform, which might be a good thing. Of the 1,226 pitches that were thrown at least 200 times in Major League Baseball in 2025, Peralta's 53.4% whiff rate with his slider was the sixth highest. Of the 28 Major League Baseball changeups to be thrown at least 500 times in the 2025 season, Peralta's 173 batting average allowed was the fifth lowest. This is something I've never friggin' heard of before. A pulled air rate. No idea what it is. All I know is the numbers are going down for him, which I think is a good thing. So in 2023 it was 22%, 2024, 19%, 2025, a little under 16%. Peralta's in-zone rate of 45% in 2025 was the lowest among qualified starting pitchers in Major League Baseball. We talked about his arm angle. It is increasing from 34 degrees to 38 degrees. So does that mean, so is this 90? So he's coming from a higher angle? I don't know, but seems to be working out for him. Over the course of the offseason, the Mets have turned over 30% of our 40-man roster, adding a dozen new names to the mix. It's a lot of new names, dude. Again, that to me feels like a cause for concern. That's a lot of new personalities. That's a lot of new elements that you're mixing up in the cauldron, in the lab, in the beakers and whatnots. It's a lot of new. Are they all going to gel? And this is maybe where Stearns was like, he did his homework. And it was like, Alonso and Nimmo and McNeil were not fitting into this clubhouse. Polanco, Simeon, Bichette, those are the guys that will fit in. We said that David Peterson is the longest tenured Met. Peterson debuted on July 28th, 2020, in the early days of the pandemic season. Over the next 5 years and 7 months, the Mets replaced every other member of their 40-man roster. He is Highlander. There can only be one. David motherfucking Peterson is the longest tenured Met. Oh, boy. So, the New York Mets have an A- grade from The Athletic, signing Bo Bichette, 3 years, 126, Devin Williams, 3 years, 51, Jorge Polanco, 2 years, 40, Luke Weaver, 2 years, 22, trading for Marcus Simeon, acquiring Luis Robert Jr. for Luis Angel Acuna, and Truman Polly, didn't even know he was a thing, acquiring Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers for Sproat and Jet, acquiring Yordan Rodriguez from the Athletics for Jeff McNeil, and the big one, the one that I'm most psyched about, acquired cash considerations for right-handed pitcher Cooper Criswell. You don't understand how important it is to have cash considerations heading into a season. That's the difference. That's what separates the men from the boys. Mets had a slow start to the offseason, as we mentioned. However, we near the end of the offseason, as the opener is tonight, Giants Yankees, Netflix. Are you watching? I'm not. Stronger defensive team up the middle. Better arms at the top of the rotation. Absolutely. Louis Robert Jr. is a plus defender in center with speed and power, but also has chase, strikeout, and focus issues that have plagued him. Okay. Bichette has led the American League in hits twice, but we asked to move to third base. Polanco has 20 homer power, but can't match the power of Alonso. Freddy Peralta gives the Mets another top of the rotation starter to go with McLean. It sucks we lost Tyler Rogers. Upgrades seem good enough to get the Mets back to the postseason. The biggest question, can Senga stay healthy? Season prediction, first place. And then this is what the roster is going to look like, or hopefully will look like for the rest of the season. Of course, we all know how that goes. How many times have we looked at an opening day roster and is drastically different from the final day of the season, or how the season ends up? But as it stands right now, we got Alvarez and Stearns behind the plate. Over his final 41 games and a return from injury in 2025, Alvarez hit 8 home runs with a 921 OPS. So he should have the starting job as he enters what will be his age 24 season. Stearns will reprise his role as a backup with veteran Austin Barnes and defensive whiz Hayden Singer next on the depth chart. Jorge Polanco at first base with possibly Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos. We have not said boo about Vientos in this offseason recap and season preview. Very interesting. Very interesting. Interesting to see, like, what is that going to do for Vientos and Beatty? Because that was a major point of discussion last year. Is it Vientos or Beatty? Is it Vientos, Beatty? We went back and forth, back and forth. You know, in 2024, it was Vientos who came out. And then Beatty got the edge in 2025. And now they're kind of like relegated. It's like Vientos is probably going to get all his shots at DH. Rotating was is Starling Marte back? I think he's back. I haven't mentioned him once. And then Beatty, you know, roaming the outfield or filling in, plugging the holes here and there, giggity. So how is that? Both young guys, you know, I thought, you know, I mentioned it in one of the episodes, probably the end of season episode, where it's like, are these young mentally, where are these young guys at? Because they went through a lot. Getting sent down, bringing back up, you know, not playing up to expectations. Acuna struggling, Mauricio struggling, Vientos struggling, like, and you could see it. They wore it on their sleeve. They're very transparent in their emotions. That's coming from a guy who thinks that he's wearing a mask at all times. And nay, no, people can see you frowning, my guy. So I'm wondering how the young guys are going to respond, because I don't feel like they responded that well last season. Second base, Simeon and Vidal Brujan. The durable infielder, Marcus Simeon, has appeared in all 162 games 3 times, though at age 35, he may need some help this time around. So, Beatty's a lock, and maybe Brujan can spell Lindor. Lindor has averaged 158 games per season over the past 4 years. At age 32, it will look for him to maintain that resilience. This Hammett, I don't even know how to, I've only seen it in text, haven't heard it. Hammett bone injury? What the F and F, dude? What is a Hammett bone? I swear to God, I'm the son of a doctor. And I have learned more about obscure medical bullshit being a Mets fan than I have being the son of a doctor. There's stuff that I'm learning about at age 45 that I thought I knew the human body inside and out. And then as a Mets fan, I have discovered anal fissures, hoof and mouth disease, thoracic outlet syndrome. Like, it's insane the injuries that baseball players suffer. That I follow football, dude. Football is a way more physical fucking sport. I've never heard of a Hammett bone. It also frustrates me and pisses me off to no end that this was not like a known issue. It feels like at the end of the season, you should have an exit interview and an exit physical. Like, hey, just in case, let's just run you through the scanner. We'll put you in the medical bathtub from the Book of Boba Fett, or that friggin' thing from Elysium where you just lay down and just and everything's healed. Let's just get you into the trainer's room with the doctors. They'll poke and prod, and we'll just make sure that there's nothing bothering you or you don't have anything secretly hurt. This shit should have been taken care of in November, dude. Why was it only going down in, January or February that we find out that he's going to have surgery? It's like, and now possibly won't be ready for opening day. Again, it's a 162 game season. It's okay if he's not available for opening day. I just hope this isn't the thing where he tries to rush back and then it's a lingering issue he's got to deal with throughout the season, because even though he's able to play through injuries, we've seen that he's proven that, and he's still able to perform at a good level above replacement. Can you just imagine what he'd be like if he's 100% healthy? So obviously Bichette at third. We got Soto, Robert Jr. in left and center respectively, and then Taylor, Beatty, and Benji. So it looks like he'll start in right with Soto and Robert in the other two spots. Mike Tauchman went down with an injury, so he's not available. And then DH Mark Vientos. He's not the only Met who's going to receive reps at the position. Polanco and Beatty figure to be receive their fair share of DH days, along with Lindor and Soto. That is, provided manager Carlos Mendoza can convince them. That's doesn't seem likely. Beyond the starting rotation that we've mentioned, New York's next wave of depth includes Jonah Tonk, Christian Scott, Tobias Myers. Tobias Myers, I think it looks like he might. Like, he was kind of just to toss an afterthought when that deal was made. Everyone was making noise about Peralta, rightfully so, but Tobias Myers could be a nice little underrated dark horse to make an impact this season. And then relief pitchers, we got obviously Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, but we got Brooks Raley, Luis Garcia, Tobias Myers, Huascar Brazaman, and Craig Kimbrell. I can't get over the way Kimbrell stands, man. I just can't get over it. What did my mom say? My mom had a great joke about it. She's been on fire lately, but yeah, he just, I think she said he looks like he has to take a shit or something like that. Just like, I don't know, he kind of looks like a scarecrow or like he's on a clothes hanger. Kimbrell would be worth $2.5 million if he's in the majors. Likely future Hall of Famer, also 37 years old. So far, he was good, not great in the Grapefruit League. Keep an eye out for Brian Hudson and Joe Jacques. Only healthy lefties still in camp. And then we have 4 guys on the injured list. AJ Minter, Tyler McGill, Reed Garrett, and Daniel Nunez. Come on, Daniel. You got to get right, my guy. Minter is in the final stages of his rehab from the torn left lat muscle that cost him all of 2025. Probably won't be ready until late April, early May. McGill, Garrett, and Nunez are recovering from Tommy John. So let's get into the top stories from spring training, since I didn't watch a friggin' lick. This is Anthony DeComo's favorite story from the spring. Hard-throwing relief prospect Ryan Lambert, the number 18 prospect back in college. Lambert once chugged 30 raw eggs per day for a month to increase his velocity. He probably increased his viscosity. Still fancy some eggs from time to time, but that's not the only fanatical part of his diet and workout routine. As an optionable reliever who reached 101 miles per hour in 2025, Lambert could be a huge piece for the Mets if he can hang around the strike zone more efficiently. He is the perfect psychopath for the bullpen. I'm sold, said one social media user. Francisco Alvarez gave up arepas to cut weight. I've had an arepa. It was at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. Probably wouldn't do it again. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's Universal Studios and they have some ghetto-ass arepas where it's like, become frozen and you just stick it in a fryer for 2 seconds or a microwave. I would imagine the handmade, homemade, homegrown stuff is much better. The genre is a bit overplayed, but I'm a sucker for a good best of shape of his life stories. Alvarez dropped around 10 pounds to become more nimble behind the plate. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like players that have lost a lot of weight and it's not worked out for them. Like David Wells. I think David Wells has gone on record as saying like, nah, every time I lost weight, I sucked at pitching. It's like, all right, man after my heart. Yeah, Carson Bengi hit 406 in the Grapefruit League. Oh, boy. The most underrated addition at Mets camp may be Tobias Myers, who came over in the Freddy Peralta trade. He's wasted little time in impressing Juan Soto. Myers and Christian Scott could be big factors when the Mets need someone to join their rotation. So what are the predictions? What needs to go right? The rotation must be better than a year ago, with the Mets featured one of the league's top starting staffs in April and May before collapsing in June. Peralta should stabilize things. It says here Manaea and Senga are the biggest major what-ifs, but I think, given what Senga has done so far in spring training, that Manaea is the one that could be on the outs. Speaking of Senga, he needs to reestablish himself following injury-plagued down years. The past 2 seasons, he had a 1.86 ERA over 3 Grapefruit League outings, hit 99 on the radar gun, and looks like the starter he was back in 2023. Man, yeah, that would be pretty sweet. I mean, you're looking at, you could possibly, I don't know. If I have to make a prediction here on the spot, gun to my head, shoot me. No. I'd say, yeah, it's Peralta, McLean, Senga would probably be the three guys that are going to really be your top three at the end of the day. I think Holmes and Peterson will still pitch well. I don't think they'll pitch to the level of being all-stars, maybe all-star snubs. I don't know. But I would put my money on Peralta, McLean, and Senga being the top three. Team MVP will be Juan Soto. He's only 27. Jesus Christ. Team Cy Young will be McLean. Whoa, Anthony DeComo. There's no slight on Peralta, but McLean features some of the best pure stuff in baseball. Gives him a higher ceiling. The best version of this Mets team has McLean starting game 1 of a playoff series. Potential to blossom into a Cy Young caliber pitcher. Yeah, I believe it. Bold prediction that there will be no NL East drama this year. No game 162 theatrics to determine whether the Mets will make the playoffs. As the Phillies slowly age out of relevance and the Braves deal with myriad pitching injuries, the Mets will lock up the division by mid-September. Oh boy, famous last words. I cannot in good conscience back that. I cannot. It just feels like we've lost so much. And to think that we're just going to plug in a bunch of new guys and it'll work right off the bat, probs won't. But I'm okay with a slow start, as I said. But holy shit. Not to end on a bad note, but if we do not make the playoffs this year, you're going to have 2-for-1 pitchfork special and torch special at your local Dick's Sporting Goods or Modell's or Champions. For us to write off the Braves and Phillies like that, it's no. I mean, considering the headaches that the Marlins gave us last season, even the fucking Nationals, dude. Like if we come out and we can take care of business against the teams that historically have been in the lower half of the leaderboard, the standings, if we can come out and take it to, when we start sweeping the Marlins and Nationals, you've got my vote of confidence. But when we start losing series to the Nationals and Marlins, it's like I can't even think about the Phillies and Braves. Slowly age out of relevance. I mean, Castellanos not part of the equation anymore. Harper's getting a little bit older. Schwarber, but Schwarber signed that big deal, and he looked good in the WBC. Had that monster home run. Harper didn't make many waves, but then he had the huge clutch home run in the final. But I wonder if the Castellanos thing will linger, and you might have a large swath of the clubhouse that was like, no, we didn't agree with that move. But I would imagine if they were that willing to move that quickly off of him, then that means that he lost favor in the clubhouse. I don't know. All I can think is the expectation here is make the playoffs. You have to make the playoffs. And then you just have to deal with the likes of a very stacked National League West. Holy schmoly. Dodgers, Padres, even the Giants got better. The Diamondbacks are no joke. Like, I would hate to be in the NL West. I would hate it. You see a lot of great baseball, but it's also like we're never going to go to the playoffs. The Central, I don't know that I'm terribly worried about anyone in the Central. I mean, you still have the Brewers and Cubs, obviously. The Reds made a push last season. I don't think the Pirates are going to do anything crazy. So it's really just getting through the NL West. The Dodgers, dude, they're just relentless. When is it all going to come crashing down for them? Maybe this is the year. This is the year where they're like, you just threw one contract too many, one too many bloated contracts at too many superstars, and that's going to combust somehow. But nope, they'll probably go off and get 100 wins and lock up the 1 seed, no probs. So I'm wondering what it would take to get over the hump and get past them, because I don't know that I guess 1 through 9, I don't know. I said this going into the last season too, 1 through 9, is this the best Mets offense that we've ever had in franchise history? And then we actually scored less runs than we did the previous season. Again, that was due to, major regression from Alvarez and Vientos and some other guys. I want to say Nimmo, but that's not right. Where it's just like Pete's doing his thing. Lindor doing his things. Soto doing his thing. And yet we're still not scoring runs. So consistency, I guess that's what we're looking for here. You hope that Luis Robert Jr. regains his something closely resembling the 2023 season. Odds are he's probably not going to hit those numbers, but like if you can just get 2/3 of the way there, pretty sweet. You get another 20 from Polanco. I mean, let's just quickly look at the projections for our starters. I won't go through the whole roster, just the starters. All right, Alvarez, a little bit of a down year, but came back strong in 2025. For 2026, the projections from Baseball Reference: 15 doubles, 1 triple, 16 home runs, 50 RBIs, 246 batting average, 322 on base percentage, 440 slugging, 762 OPS. Ooh, shit, man. He had a really good spring. So I would take, if we're doing over-unders, let's do over-unders really quick. I think Alvarez, those projections feel super fucking low. God damn, those feel low. So I'll take the over on all that shit. I think Alvarez is going to have a big bet. The fact that he lost weight and that he's taking shit more seriously, and maybe he's a year older, maybe he's a little bit more mature, more developed. And, when he comes up in a clutch situation, he's coming through and not, oh my God, there was that one. That still haunts my memories. I don't know if it was against Philadelphia or what, but it was at Citi Field and it was just like he just swung at something that was in another area code, another zip code. So I'll take the over on Francisco Alvarez. The projections for Bo Bichette: 31 doubles, 2 triples, 15 home runs, 70 RBIs, 288 batting average, 335 on base percentage, 446 sluggo, 780 OPS. I don't know why, but I want more production in terms of home runs and RBIs. But you give me a 780 OPS, a 288 average. I'm good with that. Feels like it should be an over, but a push. Can I say a push? 31 doubles. That's a ton of doubles, bro. So I'll take that. I'll take the over on the home runs and RBIs, but the rest of the numbers feel right. Marcus Semien is projected to hit 21 doubles, 2 triples, 17 home runs, 62 RBIs, with a 242 batting average, 315 on base percentage, 400 sluggo, 715 OPS. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that, but I'll take it. I would like to see a higher batting average and on base percentage. Would really appreciate that. Thanks. But I guess the deal there is that we're looking at offensive numbers. I think defensively he will provide the biggest boost. Lindor, our dude, not Steve Cohen's captain, but a captain in our hearts. Projected to hit 31 doubles, 1 triple, 28 home runs, 80 RBIs, 25 stolen bases, 262 batting average, 338 on base percentage, 470 sluggo, 807 OPS. I'll take the over on all that shit. Not by much. Just a skosh, but I think, obviously the hamate bone or whatever, hopefully they allow him to fully heal from that and they don't push him and he can just come into his own, and maybe we don't force him to start 162. Let's just take it easy with him because we need him when September rolls around in October. But even with the slow start and missing a bunch of games, I think he can still. The RBI count is whack-a-doodle. Home runs, it's like, all right, yeah, 28, that's fine. I would like to see more ribeyes from him. I have Tyrone Taylor next, but Carson Benji might be in the mix here. So let's do Tyrone then Carson. Seniority rules. Tyrone Taylor projected to have 22 doubles. Whoa. 3 triples, 9 home runs, 42 RBIs, 12 stolen bases. Would like to see more stolen bases out of him. 235 batting average, 290 on base percentage, 383 sluggo, 673 OPS. And this is why he's a platooner and not your everyday. So those feel right. I might take the under on all that. Carson Benji. Benji? Shouldn't they have a pronunciation thing here on a friggin' baseball ref? I guess not. Projections. There are no projections for Carson Benji. Oh, you know what that means. He's going to come out and he's going to be this year's 2019 Pete Alonso. Lest we forget, Pete Alonso was like not even scheduled or predicted to make the squad in 2019. And not only did he make the friggin' team on a strong, hot spring, just like Carson had a strong, hot spring, he then broke the National League rookie record, home run record. So you want a bold prediction? Here goes. You're not going to see a lot of Tyrone Taylor this year because Carson Benji is going to lock down that position and ultimately put on a freaking show. Luis Robert Jr., 6'2", 225, 28 years old, projected to hit 20 doubles, no triples, which is, take the over on that. 19 home runs, 53 RBIs, 22 stolen bases, 239 batting average, 302 on-base percentage, 425 sluggo, 727 OPS. I mean, all things considered, what he's been through the past 2 seasons, what we mentioned, him just, not being able to capitalize on what happened in 2023, when he had a 5.3 WAR, finalist for the MVP, Silver Slugger, All-Star. I mean, those numbers, those projections would be a step up from what he produced the past 2 seasons. The 2023 season is really an anomaly if you're looking at it. I mean, if you look at his career, 6 years in the bigs. But then again, he's only 28, so maybe it's like, change of scenery will do you good. It's good for the skin. It's good for the soul. So maybe that's the case with Luis Robert Jr. from Cuba. And then we got Juan Soto. His projections for the 2026 season. He doesn't have projections. That's pretty cool. They're just like, fuck it. We can't project what he's going to do. But I would say minimum 30 home runs, right? You take the over on 30. Would you take the over on 40? I'm okay if he doesn't hit 40. I'm more about the ribeyes. He hit 43 last year. If he doesn't top that this year, I'm fine with it. Minimum 30. If he hits less than 30, you're kind of like, things that make you go, He had 105 ribeyes last year. I would imagine that he should get right around that or more this year. 38 stolen bases. If he could replicate that again, another 30-30 season, that would be pretty sweet. He scored 120 runs. It would be nice to get that kind of output again. And for his career, his on-base percentage, sluggo, and OPS were slightly below what his career averages are or career lows are. But his OPS plus was right around the same. So, I think he gets the first year jitters out of his system, right? He looks like he was having a similar slump to what Lindor went through in 2021, but pulled it out got red hot towards the end of the season. So you'd have to think that, not asked to do as much in left field as he was in right, I guess, hopefully. And maybe like he's, I don't imagine that this is the case with him mentally, but like you don't take the horrible defensive outings you had into the batter's box with you. But it would be nice to see like him have that energy that he had with the Nationals. I don't know if it's just because he's older and he's over it, but like it would be nice to get that kind of, I hate using the term swagger, but that swag back. How do they not have projections for him? That is fucking bananas. But I would have to imagine minimum 30 home runs, minimum 100 RBIs, minimum 100 runs scored. And I think he maybe the numbers won't be as high for Soto this season, but he'll make more of an impact. I know that sounds weird and crazy, but I just feels like he'll have a bigger impact, maybe being more clutch. Not that he wasn't clutch last season, but it was like, guy on base, we need a hit, he gets a walk. Does that make sense? Like, don't let, he had so many walks last year that it's like, and that's probably going to be the approach this year is like, we'll just put him on base, walk him, and he'll set another record with the amount of walks that he has. But all right, I've been rambling for too damn long. So that's the episode on the precipice of the Mets season opener, 2026 season opener. I'm here to say, what a ride. To go from starting off with one of the worst off seasons in franchise history to arguably one of the best. I will not say the best, but damn, hard to beat. How do you beat an A-? And it's just not just the new guys, but a lot of new guys in new positions. A lot of that new going around. New coaching staff, not just the players, new coaching staff. You had coitus interruptus with the World Baseball Classic, where it's like some guys are not in the clubhouse, and so they are apart. You're facing, it was Mets versus Israel. I looked at my watch and I was like, that gotta be a typo. It's gotta be a glitch of the Matrix. Mets versus Israel. So it's a lot of new. And we'll see if it was really all Nimmo, McNeil, Alonso, and Diaz's fault. Because that seems to be where the fingers were pointing. It's like, we got to go out with the old and with the new. And if we just get a new polish on this here franchise, we'll go far. So I don't know. I think for the fans, like the way I envision it, it feels like it's going to take a little while for us to warm up to this new crew. Now you get off to a hot April, it's like, the seats will fill. But the fact that we set records for the stadium last season in terms of attendance, and we were middling at best for like 3/4 of the year, half to 3/4 of the year, the fans were pumped. But I think that's because of the carryover from 2024 plus Juan Soto. It's like, how could we possibly miss the playoffs? To now go to, like we said, huge turnover with the roster, only few, holdovers. Are those holdovers enough? Like, I don't know, are people getting crazy psyched for Polanco and Simeon and Robert? Bichette maybe, but for some reason, I don't see the fan base going nuts for like a Polanco, Simeon, and Robert. It's just me. But you win and you're in, right? You're in with the fan base. You just got to win, baby. Al Davis, that shit. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we'll talk to you next time. Adios, muchachos.